Pathmonk is the intelligent tool for website lead generation. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in their buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50%. Add Pathmonk to your website in seconds. Let the AI do all the work and get access to 50% more qualified leads while you keep doing marketing and sales as usual. Check us on pathmonk.com. Welcome to today's episode. Let's talk about today's guest. We have Sarah from Fero Labs, Director of Marketing. How are you doing today, Sarah?
Good, thanks, Ernesto.
Well, it's great to have you on today, and I'm sure our listeners are tuning in, wondering what Fero Labs is all about. Well, their plants work better together with Fero Labs, right? So let's start off with that so you can give us a little bit of better insight, Sarah. In your own words, can you describe us what Fero Labs is all about?
Sure. Fero Labs is an augmented intelligence platform, and we work with manufacturers to help optimize their production to drive profit and sustainability. So the work that we do, we consider pretty important because the manufacturing sectors that we look after and support are some of the heaviest emitters of climate changing carbon. So that's steel, chemicals, cement, oil and gas. And so it's an important thing for us to get on board to change. So our platform uses AI and machine learning so they can make better, faster, more confident production changes. The kinds of things that we're hearing from our customers is when they do like a side-by-side, they tell us that they're working 90 times faster than what they had been using with traditional methods like Six Sigma. And they're averaging about 11% increased efficiency just by using us, which with a manufacturing plant, that can be millions in savings.
Definitely, I would agree with that. But so then that way our listeners could get a good understanding. Is there a key problem then that you would solve for clients?
Sure. I mean, manufacturing as a sector, they're pretty sort of risk averse. They don't like to change, and that's really out of necessity. Small changes, if it turns into an error, that can be a safety issue. It can also cost them millions. So if they can avoid changing, they will. So in order for them to change, they need science-based confidence in anything before they put it into their workflow of production. So if you think about COVID, since COVID, they have been forced to look at their efficiencies because they're experiencing supply chain issues. So what that means is that they have to really make the most of all of their raw and recycled materials so that they're not wasting anything. Fuel costs, their energy that they use has gone up dramatically, especially in the EU. So they need to make sure that they're not, overcorrecting and running longer than they need to or running hotter than they need to. They're not burning more fuel than they need to. So that, as well as making sure that their quality stays on point, those are the things that we're helping them with. In addition to that, we can help them do this more sustainably at the same time. So it's like a win-win for the plant and for the planet.
Definitely. Well, that's great to hear from you guys. Is there a vertical segment, or is there an ideal ICP that you guys like to have or go after?
It is, so it's those niche segments. We are looking for those heavy emitters. We are mission-driven company. We want to try and make the biggest impact to mitigate climate change. So those are the ones that we focus on. They're also the ones that we're the most experienced in. We have a lot of people in the company who have actually worked in, those particular sectors as well. And that, is also super helpful. In terms of the actual persona ICP, we're focusing more on those decision makers, those plant owners, the digital transformation folks, the people who own the plant, who really want to get the most out of their team, out of their plant, out of all of the materials that they buy, and they want to keep their shareholders happy. At the same time, they have regulations coming at them these days in terms of reducing their carbon footprint. So those are the folks who we tend to focus on the most, at least from my marketing side of things.
Definitely awesome to hear that. And as far as some marketing side of things, is there, how does someone typically find out about Fero Labs, or what would you say is a top client acquisition channel for you guys?
So it is fairly niche, it's very narrow because our ICP is really narrow as well. It's not every single manufacturer or factory out there. It's not everyone who works in the factory. So pre-COVID, it used to be events, but events haven't really bounced back in this sector since COVID, and especially in the European Union where, travel is still considered part of the footprint of a company. And so a lot of that is restricted. So what we're doing is we're doing more upper funnel in terms of my PR comms. We're just launching our own profitable sustainability podcast as well to replace some of the speaking that we would have done at those events. And lead gen through demand gen and lead gen through LinkedIn is probably one of our biggest channels, mainly because we can target tier 1 and 2 accounts tightly on our personas that we care about the most. And then we can also retarget them both on LinkedIn and outside of LinkedIn after they've been to our website as well. So that's primarily where most of our activity is coming from. Our website is primary to all of this.
Definitely. And in regards to your website, for our listeners who are tuned in, you could always check them out at ferolabs.com. What role does a website play for your client acquisition then, Sarah?
Website is everything. Even if our sales team are doing cold outreach or if they're networking at an event, I can see that those prospects are still coming to our website to check out, who are we, what are we about, before they make a decision to engage any further. So it's an incredibly important touch point to us. When I started 5 months ago, it was one of our biggest weaknesses. And as a startup, you can't do nothing. So, I had to acquire a bunch of tools and make a bunch of changes immediately to try and plug some of those gaps and leaks that were happening at the time. So in my first 2 weeks, I put my web development team on retainer because it's so important to have a great technical team to help correct some of those usability issues. I purchased 6 Sense so that I can verify that the people coming to my to my website are from the accounts that I care about the most. We get a lot of education-based people because we have a lot of academic white papers and things like that on the site, which is great. And we want people to learn more about cutting-edge ML and AI, but they don't help me. So I don't want to make navigational changes on my website based around their behaviors, because it's very different from someone who's looking to understand and procure a product. So those are some of the things that I'm able to do because we have a small amount of traffic coming through to our website. I can timestamp on 6 Sense around the same time and really see if, I'm sorry, I should have said with my Hotjar that I also acquired, I can see those recordings and timestamp those with 6 Sense and be able to see if those are the behaviors of the people I care about, or if those were people who wanted to come in, grab a white paper and leave because that's what they wanted to do.
Exactly. That's really important. But Sarah, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about you as a leader. You being the director of marketing there for Fero Labs, what are some key tasks you focus on your day-to-day work?
So a lot of it is agencies because I have a small village of agencies. I'm a marketing team of 1. So I have contractors and agencies who I engage with every day. A lot of it's, back and forth on Slack, but I like to try and catch up with them, at least once a week. So my mornings, because they're based in Germany and in the US, it's focused around catching up with them, making sure everyone's, there are no roadblocks for what they need to do. I also like to listen to on-demand sales calls that our sales have had, so that I can understand how, what are some of the pain points that our customers are telling us or prospects are telling us, what are the language they're using, so I can use it for messaging. And also some of the questions that they have. Is there content that I need to be building out to fill and close some of those gaps as well? As well as I was still actually doing the execution. I was setting up LinkedIn campaigns and optimizing and tweaking the website myself. So I work better writing in the first half of the day. I work better focusing with deep focus in the second half of the day. So those are some of the things that I try and manage my time to get the most efficient use out of myself.
Definitely, like you mentioned, right? Coming in, 5 months ago and today, you've done a lot. So, you have a lot of hats to put on throughout that. So it's great that you're be able to strategize around it and pull through. So awesome to hear that from you, Sarah.
Yeah, life of a startup.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's switch into our next section, which is our rapid fire question round. So you ready for them, Sarah?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. All right. First off, what is the last book that you read?
Last book that I read was The Pocket Guide to Product Launches by Mary Sheehan. She is a product marketing, senior product marketing person on a product marketing community that I subscribe to. It was wonderful.
All right. Awesome. Great read there for our listeners. And so next is, what is one single thing that your company is focused on at the moment the most?
We are out there to help manufacturers to mitigate climate change. We are not out there to store or measure or offset, your carbon footprint. We are here to help you to really efficiently grow your business and to mitigate that carbon right from the source so that we can have like a sustainable future together.
Great stuff there from Fero Labs, though. Now, if there would be no boundaries in technology, Sarah, what would be that one thing that you want to have fixed for your role as a marketer today?
I don't think it's legal, but I would love to be able to shadow my prospects or customers just for a day. I want to be able to see what they're doing when they're not using my platform. And I do ask that as like a VOP or VOC interview. But that's anecdotal. It's based on their recall. They give us big swings of what they do. It's the little fires that come up that they put out that I'm really interested in, and how they react to it. Because within that space is where you can really nail a lot of your website messaging, because it's the things that they would want to do with their time that we can save for them. That's a way that we can. It's a big understanding from a marketing perspective.
Definitely, like you mentioned, right? I think we're moving away from that legally wise, so it's gonna get a little bit. So, I'm sure something will happen, but we'll just have to wait and see what has in store for us. But definitely, that's a trick.
In the EU, we can't even record anything now. You can't record a sales call. We can't even record any of our internal Fero calls with our other workers. In the EU, it's now completely illegal, even if they give permission. So, yeah, I don't expect my going to come true.
Okay, awesome. Well, next up, Sarah, if there's one repetitive task that you could automate, what would that be?
Note taking. I know that it exists, but once again, being able to focus on a meeting without having to take terrible notes like I do. There are AI bots that transcribe, but myself and others at Fero Labs, we all have accents. We're a global company, so our clients all have accents. And there's no really good transcription bot at this stage to be able to transcribe notes. So that would be where I'd like to be able to have it.
Definitely. All right. Awesome. Great to hear that. And well, lastly, Sarah, you already have a lot of experience within the marketing world, but what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were to restart your journey as a marketer today?
Find your purpose. It's always been find your passion, and I've lived the passion in jobs. Passion's infectious to everyone who works around you, your customers even. But what was missing was the purpose. And what I love about Fero Labs is that it's a mission-driven company to work with manufacturers to create a sustainable tomorrow. And that feels more like a legacy than a job I need to go to 5 days a week.
Definitely, like you mentioned, right? I think that's important. So, and mostly what you mentioned with Fero Labs is just, I guess, curing the world in their own way, and that's awesome to hear that. So, kudos to Fero Labs and to you for Sarah for joining with us to the show. But before we end, I do want to give you the last word. If someone forgets everything about the interview today, Sarah, what is that one thing they should remember about Fero Labs?
Oh, we're not storing, we're not measuring, we're mitigating AI. Mitigating AI, that would be disastrous. We're mitigating carbon right from the source so that we can create a sustainable future for everyone. You don't need code to deploy. You can start immediately to start making changes today. That would be what I'd want to leave.
Definitely awesome. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be in today's episode. To our listeners, like I mentioned, you could always check them out at ferolabs.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to all those listeners, and looking forward to our next episode at Pathmonk Presents. Thanks a lot, Sarah.
Thanks, Ernesto.